of this information. So she's going to just tell you a little bit about why she's more excited than ever before, and she's going to really frame for you the credibility of the company. So without any further ado, put your hands together for District Leader Dawn Cavanaugh.
As usual, I'm feeling very pumped up, fired up, and super excited. I love this environment. I do. So just a little bit more about me. Again, my name is Dawn Cavanaugh, and I grew up a military brat. So I got to move every 3 or 4 years. It turns out 11 of the 18 years was actually out of the States. So it's funny, every now and then you'll run across stuff and you're like, oh, okay, if you say so. And it does happen a lot. My mom's British and their food is nice and bland. So living in Texas, which I did later, that was fun. Oh, wow. So I grew up though, same kind of thing everybody else did, right? Gotta go to school, gotta get married, have kids. I mean, there's just like this expectation of our lives, right? I remember in high school, my dad always getting so frustrated with me. A was acceptable. B is barely acceptable. It's on. And then C was catastrophic. And A was, he said acceptable, but it was really the barely acceptable. And I'll be honest, I was the kind that the only reason I didn't get the A was like I didn't do the homework or read the book or something like that, right? So he did it for a reason. So I was very naturally going into college. It was never a question of whether or not I was going. Just a question of, okay, what are you going to do when you get there? I was like, oh, all right. So I like physics and math in high school, so I'll try that. Oh my God, okay. So math is hard, very hard. Physics uses math, a little bit easier, so I went with physics. Bachelor's degree in physics, nice and hard work. Turns out the master's was a little bit harder. I remember beating my head against the wall quite a few times for theoretical physics class, and every time my professor had his office open, I would be there asking questions and for help. It was very funny. Mm-hmm. So luckily, I fell into love with biophysics. So I took this current issues in bio and medical physics. Never heard of medical physics, but hey, let's go find out. Turns out medical physics is awesome. It's applied. So I didn't have to do all the theoretical thinking. Oh, so nice, right? It's like, okay, I think I found it. I think I have found it. So I ended up having to go into a PhD program. Medical physics, it turns out, deals with all the radiation. So if you do CT, MRI, X-ray, and unfortunately all the cancer patients do get treated with radiation sometimes, right? So I ended up at a pretty decent program. MD Anderson, I don't know if anybody's ever not heard of it, right? MD Anderson, it turns out, is one of the top 2. So I got very lucky with a master's degree, got placed into a PhD program, and ended up loving CT. I don't know what it is about getting images from a rotating X-ray. I loved it. And I ended up really appreciating getting to work with the patients a little bit. So I ended up in external treatment stuff. And that is very much you're the one behind the scenes and making sure everything is perfect so that the patient is getting treated without any questions. So I'm the one that gets to mark the big white X on the copy machine, but I didn't have to fix it. We would then call the engineers to fix it. So it was a very awesome job. And of course, you put medical in front of anything, you get paid better in this society. The US is great for that. So I got lucky. Found it totally by accident. My first career was actually in Texas, Fort Worth, and it was because of who I knew. MD Anderson, right? So because of who I knew, I was able to get the job, and I got to make 6 figures. So I did everything that you're supposed to do. Worked really hard in school, and yeah, there was a lot of beating the head against the wall sometimes with that physics. A lot of memorization because of the medical part, and then I got to go work at cancer centers and help treat patients. Did that, got in the habit of moving every 3 or 4 years. So Fort Worth, then Dallas, then I went to Rochester, New York. Wow, talk about a culture change. Wow. Ended up here in Virginia. And it was at Riverside, right down the road. It was the kind of situation where it's a contract company, so where we're all medical physicists working together for the Riverside Cancer Center. And I remember one Tuesday afternoon going in, and it was like 3:15. And sitting down there, and you know me, a little bit of a note taker. So I had my notebook, getting ready to take notes. And he said, you know, I tried to catch up with you Friday, and then you left early yesterday, so I didn't get to talk to you. But I'm glad we're meeting today because you're fired. That is literally how I got fired. So that whole concept of companies downsizing, right-sizing, capsizing is a very real thing. So the six figures that I stuck into my education, the 10.5 years I stuck into getting it, was all worthless. Like that. So I was very, very fortunate. I had become a client like 6 months earlier than that for Primerica. And I remember going through my financial needs analysis and getting very, very excited. And basically writing down every name in my phone to give to my trainer and to give to my agent and saying, oh my God, this is awesome, everybody needs this. Because it was truly that path in the right direction to get you stop depending on money. Because let's face it, every decision is dependent upon money until you don't have to depend on money. So I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So when I got fired, I was like, all right, let's go learn about how not to be dependent on money. So the reason I joined was truly for the educational purposes. Not a big surprise that I'm an educational nerd, and so that was the reason. The reason I love it, probably the freedom of the schedule. I now create my own schedule. I get to decide when I'm going to be talking to people, meeting with people, and of course studying for all of our wonderful exams, right? So that is what easily kept me. I truly loved it. And we're in a wonderful office that is going through this expansion time. So we're planning on 7 offices. And this time next year, I plan on doing that head for the RVP run so that I can be ahead of one of them.
Awesome.
So a little bit more about Primerica itself, not just me. Swipe to the right.
Uh-oh. Careful. Either way.
The other way. The other right. Got it?
The other right.
All right, so Primerica actually on April 1st of this year got to celebrate their 40th anniversary. So they've been in progress, been a company for 40 years now. We are listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It is a publicly traded company. Anything you want to know about this company, you can find. One of the great things they do is this Primerica Gives Back Freedom Redefined. So every August, the employees get to vote on a nonprofit organization that they would like Primerica to donate money to. So this year they did 5 nonprofits that got $10,000 each. One of them was, and of course I'm a little biased because Dad being in the military, was a veterans. One of them was, I want to say kids with autism. Then there was like a pet-friendly one, which I know my sister would have loved. Bit of a dog fan. So they are awesome. Then this is the Dalbar Award, and they've been given it 14 years in a row. They have ranked #1. That's this one right here. Oh, the one that I love, because you never hear these 2 words together, is we were mentioned in Forbes magazine as one of the world's most trustworthy financial companies. Not 2 words you get to hear together very often, trustworthy and financial. But we truly are there for the people, right? Yeah. All right, and then you get to see that superior and A+ rating in AM Best and very strong AA in Standard and Poor's. Thank you. So we have paid, and numbers that I can't understand, $15 billion in claims have been paid. Right? I mean, who really understands what a billion is? I'll be honest, a million's a lot. So billions, that's just awesome. So this company is extremely good, extremely credible. It's not just me favoritive, okay? So anyway, I want to thank you guys very much, and of course, I will see you at the top.